Enjoy the show.
What up, what up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode number 114 of Siriani Says Sports. And the whole gang is back together. Obviously, you can see there's not two people on the screen. There's three people on screen. You know what that means. Ryan Barringer Jr. is back, but we had a pretty busy week in sports, so obviously we're going to get into all that. We're still waiting for something on Aaron Judge. I don't know when we're going to get it, but it's going to come eventually, you would think. But anyways, I'm Matt Siriani. Fun fact about me today, fantasy playoffs, very, very close. It's close. That's Ryan Barrett Jr. And actually, if we were in the fantasy league right now, if the season didn't say he'd be in the playoffs by 10 points. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing good, Maddie. Final week of classes, which is obviously good news, right? Sports is at an all-time high, so that's always another positive. And then Matt, just chilling. Happy to be back. But yeah, I don't know. You want to do me a little bit of a favor too, Maddie, and pull your mic away from your mouth a little bit?
Oh yeah, sorry.
You're good.
It's good?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, awesome. As long as I can be heard. That's the one turn at the bottom from Burbank, California. How you doing, Laura?
Doing good, Matt. I mean, it's good to have the three of us back here, but I'm thinking that when we change the intro, it's got to be the three of us somehow. I wish you guys. I was in that video with you guys. I would be holding a football or something like that.
We'll come up with something. We'll come up with something to get all three of us involved. Well, we might even ask you to record footage of yourself doing something just to get you in the intro somehow, and you can send us the video. Well, that's something that we'll do behind closed doors. But we have a lot of stuff to cover. But first off, before we get started, Siriani Says Sports is sponsored by the following: Outback Steakhouse, Aussie Rules; Vox Enterprises, building projects for success; DAS Technology Consulting, simplifying technology; Jag One Physical Therapy, a physical therapy provider for the teams you love; Grace Foundation of New York, support, empower, educate, enhance; Integrated Planning Group, client-focused, advice-driven; and by Rocco's Original Italian Ices, a sweet summertime treat all year round. So, with that all being said and done, those are our 7 sponsors. Thank you so much for supporting the show and giving us the benefit of the doubt by sharing the show with your friends and family and allowing us to do the show with support. But anyway, we have a lot of stuff to get into. We got the college football playoff bracket revealed. We got the Army-Navy game coming up this week. We got news out of baseball from a couple of teams. We got places from other sport, people from different sports going to other sport venues for attendance. We got the NFL and so much more. But let's get started. So, we're going to start off with college football playoffs. So, the top 4 were revealed. It's the following: Georgia at 1, Michigan at 2, TCU at 3, and Ohio State at 4. On the outside looking in at 5 was Alabama and Tennessee. So, as you can tell, Laurel Ryan's not that big with Alabama. But
hey, Maddie, you're in the same boat as me, buddy. Don't coming to me.
Okay. No problem.
Who was the one that was actively going nuts for Alabama to lose to Tennessee this year?
Oh yeah, that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But you were true. You're right. But anyway, because I like Tennessee. I like the state of Tennessee. What can I say? But anyway, I want to get Ryan's thoughts on the top 4 before we get to low rope, because I haven't heard a take from you in a while. The top 4 and where they ranked. Did they get it right?
I think so, and I'm not gonna lie to you, Maddie. I personally would rather it falls on 2 teams, right, Maddie? Because I definitely think the top 3 are fine, right? I definitely think Georgia, Michigan, and TCU all deserve it. Even though TCU ended up losing on Saturday, I still think they deserve to be in. But it comes down to me, Maddie, is who is that 4 team? And it came down to, obviously, in my head, between USC and Ohio State. And obviously, USC had that brutal loss, right, to Iowa.
Utah.
Iowa. Not Utah. Iowa, Utah, sorry. And obviously that's unfortunate, right? But I think that for me, I think Caleb Williams is probably one of the best quarterbacks in college, and next year is going to be an absolute freak. But I'd rather see USC. Obviously, Lincoln Riley turned that whole program around this year when he went there. But I mean, Maddie, we saw Ohio State literally get smoked by Michigan, and it wasn't close, and they didn't have their best running back at all. So, I mean, I don't know. I think Ohio State's a little bit of frauds, and if you didn't see Matt Jackson Smith and Jigba actually declared for the NFL draft, so I don't think he's not going to play in the playoffs. I think that's already kind of confirmed, but again, he hasn't really played the rest of the season. But I definitely think it's going to be interesting. I think Georgia's going to absolutely kill Ohio State, and then the Michigan TCU game, like I feel like it's going to be 1-2 dominated, but I mean, it's good to see TCU in there.
Yeah, it really is good to see TCU in there. We haven't seen a Big 12 team in the college football playoff in quite some time. But Laurel, I know you're not too proud about Alabama being left out of the college football playoff, but Bama aside, how do you feel about the top four and where they're ranked?
Well, I think Alabama should have gotten in because TCU lost in the Big 12 championship game. But you know what? I think Georgia was no surprise of being the number one team. I mean, Michigan is they're ready to find the Wolverines have a lot of unfinished business, and then you talk about TCU. I mean, they're probably not going to go far, in my opinion. And then Ohio State is just Ohio State.
Now, as far as TCU goes, actually, I want to give a shout out to Kurt Warner because his son Cade Warner was actually part of Kansas State. He had 4 catches for 22 yards, not really major, but like he was going crazy on Sunday NFL game day, on Sunday. So I want to give a shout out to Kurt Warner and his family. Obviously, good moment for them. Seeing Kurt go crazy at AT&T Stadium was kind of cool, but I got to give a certain point to Ryan, and that point is that Ohio State is an interesting one. I know that Georgia has a top 10 defense or a top 2 or 3 defense in college football. Even though they lost half the starters to the draft, they were phenomenal in the SEC championship game. They routed LSU. But there's nothing I would love to see more, because I'm a Big Ten guy. There's nothing I would love to see more than Ohio State upsetting Georgia and Michigan taking care of business against TCU and getting that Ohio State-Michigan rematch for the championship.
But like it's just, I mean, Maddie, it seems like it's like that whole Bama Georgia thing all over again from last year. Was it not? Like, remember how last year Bama Georgia play? We're like, oh, this is gonna be close, and Bama kind of just mopped the floor with them. Obviously, it changed in the national championship game, but like that's kind of what it seems like to me. Is I feel like Michigan just has the edge over Ohio State, and it's, I don't know, and I also don't see how they're getting past that Georgia defense, which is still legit.
Now, Laurel, if you had to pick your national championship based on the matchup that we've seen, what do you think it's going to be?
I'm picking Michigan and Ohio State, and I'm picking Michigan to win it.
I'm hoping Michigan Ohio State because, like I said, I'm a Rutgers grad. Obviously, it's the Big Ten Conference. My Rutgers stinks at football. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. They stink at football. But, Ryan, I want to get your thoughts. Who do you think the national championship game should be?
I agree with you guys that I think it's going to be Michigan. I personally think Georgia's better than Ohio State, and I think that we've seen that. I think that pass rush led by Jalen Carter is, like, insane. I mean, Stetson Bennett, right? Like, he definitely could be better. I mean, he is a Heisman finalist, which I don't think is really that deserved because I just think that team is loaded. But, yeah, I think Georgia's a better team than Ohio State. But, again, it all comes down to quarterback play, and I think C.J. Stroud definitely could outperform Stetson Bennett.
Here's the thing. Stetson Bennett has played great games before. And I think that we don't give him the credit that he really deserves, which is understandable. But I think what really stands out about Georgia's offense, if there's any standouts, tight end Brock Bowers.
That boy is nice. That boy good.
He's going to be a beast tight end in the NFL. He's a good hybrid tight end. He can do everything. He can catch passes in the flat. He can go deep. He can do everything.
He's a Kyle Pitts. Yeah,
exactly. He's a confidence kind of tight end. So those are the only 2 pieces on the Georgia offense that are great, but that defense is just phenomenal, as Ryan indicated. But we'll have to see who the college football national championship is going to be. But we're going to continue the trend of college football. We're going to go to a game that is one of the bigger traditions of college football. Laura and I are going to be calling the game on Saturday. That is the Army-Navy game in Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. We're not going to go too heavy on promoting this game. We're just going to give a little quick glimpse of what we're going to do. Like, we're going to be on Twitter Spaces, Laura and I. We're going to be calling the game on Twitter Spaces, and then we'll have us talking sports with Laura and Matt. Pregame show for those of you who don't know.
Post-game.
Post-game. So for those of you who don't know, well, what's Talking Sports with Laura and Matt? This is the first time I'm hearing the name on this show. Well, Talking Sports with Laura and Matt is the relative show to this, if you want to put it that way. It's the relative show, which means that it's in the same brand. Obviously, it's me and Laura, so two of the three of us are doing our own thing. But this is obviously the main meat and potatoes. There's no replacing this as the main meat and potatoes. But this is that's our weekend show, if you want to put it that way. It's our weekend show relative, our sister show. That's a good way to put it. Our sister show, right?
Yeah, it is a sister show to Siriani Says Sports.
That's a good way to put it. And then we're going to continue the trend with college football, so I can't wait for Army-Navy. I've watched a lot of Army-Navy games, but I've never actually called one before. And I got to come prepared because I don't know anyone on the squads for Army and Navy, but I'll come prepared. Right, Laura?
Yeah, absolutely. The Army-Navy game is a great tradition here. I mean, I think you look at it, it is America's game of the week.
Very much so. Now we're going to go into the New Year's Six bowl games, and we're going to announce them right now, and then we're going to go into our picks through the New Year's Six bowl games based on our predictions. So, obviously, we got the two playoff matchups. We got Ohio State, Georgia. I think based on the panel, we're kind of split. Well, 2/3. Laura and I say Ohio State. Ryan says Georgia. And then Fiesta Bowl, TCU, Michigan. We all say Michigan, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
So I'm talking about the New Year's Six bowl games. I pick Ohio State over Georgia. I pick Michigan over TCU in the Fiesta Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Orange Bowl. Go ahead.
All right, we got the Orange Bowl, which is ironically between two teams that sport orange. Clemson versus Tennessee. No Hendon Hooker for this matchup, which could be the only concern. And also, DJ Uiagalelei is entering the transfer portal. So this could be a very, very iffy matchup. But I think it's good for branding of these two schools. Like, I didn't think Tennessee would actually make a bowl game this important. They haven't made a bowl game this important in a long time. So good for the Volunteers. And Clemson had really underperformed that game against South Carolina. They're looking to rebound. And they're probably going to have a new quarterback in 2023 because DJ Uiagalelei wants to leave, and he's just not it.
He's not great.
Yeah. So, if we had to pick this game, I'm going to start with Ryan. If you had to pick this game between Tennessee and Clemson, who would you pick?
Why throw me on a spot? I don't like it at all, actually. I really don't like this game because obviously no Hendon Hooker. I don't think DJ Uiagalelei is it at all. But, shoot, I think we're gonna go Tennessee.
I'm gonna go Tennessee as well. Laura, what do you think?
I'm gonna go with Tennessee here.
All right, clean sweep. We all agree on one thing: that's Tennessee beating Clemson. Next, we got the Sugar Bowl. This is an interesting one. Kansas State, the Big 12 champions, taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide. This should be interesting. Kansas State won that game against TCU fair and square. They won not decisively, but they won very convincingly against TCU, and yet TCU still made the playoff. Laura, I'm going to start with you. I think I know what your answer is going to be, but who do you pick to win this game?
Alabama. I think they're going to beat Kansas State.
Now, Ryan, this is possibly the last chance that we have to see Bryce Young perform in a game before the combine, because Bryce Young will probably enter the NFL draft and will probably be the number 1, number 2 pick in the draft. But if you had to pick Kansas State, Alabama, who would you pick?
I'm gonna go with Bama because I do think I think Bryce Young is gonna go out on a high note. I think he is gonna play very well, and I just think that Bama team is better than Kansas State. I mean, they arguably, right, depending on who you talk to, should have made the college football playoffs. I mean, obviously they got the 5th seed, but I mean, Bama, Nick Saban, like, they got all the pieces. They're better than Kansas State. I'm sorry, but like, they're better.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I agree with that sentiment as well. I gotta go Bama as well. So we're clean sweep again. Next, we got the Cotton Bowl, USC versus the American Athletic Conference champion Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. USC, Caleb Williams looks like he's going to be the front runner for the Heisman Trophy. I think he will be, but Tulane is actually a very underrated program, right? If the college football playoff had the 12-team system, Tulane would be in the playoffs. That's how good Tulane has been. Ryan, who would you pick to win this game? USC, Tulane.
It's USC, and it's not close. I mean, that boy Caleb Williams is that boy good. He's good.
He's really good.
Yeah, no, he's really good.
Laura, what do you think?
I'm going to go with the Trojans. I think Caleb Williams is going to show why he probably will win the Heisman Trophy.
I'm going to go with USC as well. I think that Caleb Williams is going to have a statement game for Caleb Williams. He'll put up a dog of a performance to really cement himself as the next upcoming quarterback in college football, and he'll win the Heisman.
He already is.
Yeah. He had that. Well, the Notre Dame game solidified it, but I think
minimum he has one more year, right? Because he's a sophomore now, so he's gonna be a junior next year. Obviously, he's probably gonna come out next year, but like, I don't think there's a quarterback dude that's gonna be in college next year that's gonna be more hyped than this kid. Like, and it's well deserved because this kid is legit.
He's magic. He's magic. He literally
the stuff that I see him do, dude, during these games, I'm just like, oh my. Like that guy's really good. And it's not like he just runs around. Like the guy will have 3 rushing touchdowns, like one game, and have 4 the next game, like 4 passing. Like the kid can just do it all. Multi-dimensional as hell.
Absolutely. And last but not least, the Rose Bowl, Penn State versus the Pac-12 champion Utah Utes. Now, if you remember, Utah played in the Rose Bowl last year against Ohio State, and it was 40-45 Buckeyes. This is a matchup that I'm really looking forward to. I've seen Penn State play. I went to a Penn State game. They kicked Rutgers' butt. It wasn't pretty. But Utah, there's something special about them that people don't really talk about. I think that Utah deserves more respect than they're given. I'm going to go first here. I think Utah rebounds. I think Utah wins the Rose Bowl game this year. I think Penn State's talented, but I think that Utah is just well-rounded. I think they can they can counteract Penn State defensively and offensively. Ryan, what do you think?
I mean, Maddie, if Utah showed us anything the last 2 years, Maddie, based on like all the games we've called and everything like that, I think Utah, dude, is like king of the upsets, and I think they're gonna pull it out too.
All right, Laura, what do you think? Rose Bowl.
I'm gonna go with Penn State. I like Sean Clifford, and I think James Franklin is gonna out-coach Utah.
Awesome. All right,
Come on, Laura, you gotta have a dog somewhere, bro. Be fun.
Okay, Ryan.
Laura, you're being boring, bro.
Okay. All right, so we're going to transition to another segment. Actually, this is somewhat basketball related, somewhat baseball related, but there's a lot of football nuance to it. So Monday was kind of crazy because there were a couple of athletes involved in football events that were in attendance at a basketball game. There were a couple of athletes there was an athlete involved in the Bucks game last night, and we saw Odell Beckham Jr. at the Mavericks game. So Aaron Judge was spotted at Raymond James Stadium hugging Tom Brady in the tunnel before they went out to play the Saints and won the game, by the way. And then Odell Beckham Jr. was at the Mavericks game on Monday night where he got a huge reception. Now, for those of you who are unaware, we're still trying to figure out where Aaron Judge is going to go, whether it's the Giants.
Freaking gross. Freaking Matt, whatever his name is. Now I'm forgetting his name. Killed me today. I was in class today, man. I almost had a heart attack.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Lucas Vidal. Hey Brian.
Yeah, it's my house. It's my housemate.
It's your housemate. Thank you, Lucas, for watching. We appreciate your support. But anyway, Aaron Judge was at Buccaneer Stadium, Raymond James. It blew up social media, and then also Odell Beckham Jr. was at the Mavericks game where he got a huge reception. Now, for those of you, I talked about Aaron Judge a little bit, but Odell Beckham Jr., for those of you who are still trying to figure out what's going on with him, there's a lot of speculation that he could end up a Dallas Cowboy in the near future. But there's also speculation that he could go to the Giants, but he could go to the Bills. But the Cowboys are more heavily involved than any of the 3 teams.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. Micah Parsons is trying real damn hard to recruit him.
Oh, yeah. Micah Parsons on Twitter has been going off on trying to recruit Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start off with Loro here. Loro, if you had to pick between Aaron Judge going to the Bucks game or Odell going to the Mavericks game, what appearance really made a diff? What appearance really means something?
I think it what means something. I'm gonna say Aaron Judge to the Bucks game. To be honest with you,
How come?
you know, because Tampa, the Yankees spring training facility is right by Tampa. So, I mean, Tom Brady was a fellow Northern California native, so that maybe could say something like, "Oh, could Tom Brady recruit Aaron Judge to the Giants or something like that?" We'll see.
I never thought about that, but you are right. Tom Brady grew up in San Mateo, California, so it all makes sense. And also, I don't know if you guys were aware, but Nestor Cortez was also
I was gonna say that.
Nestor Cortez was also at the Bucks game. People didn't really pay attention to that because people were just focused on big number 99 wearing a Mike Evans jersey, and Nestor Cortez was just kind of chilling there. Aaron Judge, the GOAT.
Facts.
He's something. He's something.
Yeah.
He's great. Aaron Judge staying with the Yankees. Listen, I hope so, but it's gonna be tough. Ryan, between Odell and Aaron Judge, what appearance do you think really made a lot more headlines?
Odell, I think, because I think it's also who he went with. Because, like, as you just said with Aaron Judge, he did end up going with Nestor Cortez. So it seems like it was like a bunch of Yankees, like, going with each other, right? So it's two Yankees together, right? But Odell Beckham in this situation is still a free agent, right? And seeing him in Dallas at a Mavs game with probably the Cowboys' one of the Cowboys' two best players in Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs, it's definitely telling. And basically, kind of like we talked about with not Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons, whole Twitter the last 2 weeks, I'd say, when the rumors to Odell to the Cowboys. I think it's pretty likely, dude. I did see something today on Twitter where they said that the Cowboys may be hesitant because they don't know if Odell's going to be able to play till mid-January now because of his ACL, because they don't know how much he's rehabbed it since then. But I'd still say that Odell to the Cowboys is probably the highest odds.
If I had to go with what appearance I think meant more, I gotta say Odell Beckham Jr. to the Cowboys. I mean, it's not even close because he was with Micah Parsons. The crowd gave Odell a big standing ovation when they saw him sitting courtside with Micah Parsons. It really made a lot more sense. And the Cowboys, like you said, have been trying heavily to recruit him, specifically Micah Parsons. But I think it just really means more. Like, the city of Dallas loves him already. He's not even put on a uniform or caught a pass yet. And Aaron Judge, like, I get the whole thing with going to the Steinbrenners and meeting them in Tampa, which makes a lot of sense. But you got to remember what Aaron Judge is doing next. And we'll get into Loro knows in a little bit because Aaron Judge left Tampa and he's going back to his home state. So that could mean a lot of things. But actually, I think this is a good transition for Loro knows, actually. And it's all about MLB Free Agency. We had a couple of big signings in regards to Major League Baseball, but we have a couple of them but Loro's going to describe the big ones, and then we're going to get more into Aaron Judge. So, Loro, this is your time, man. What's happened over the past couple of days?
Justin Verlander has signed a 2-year deal with the New York Mets, which includes a vesting option for a 3rd year. Trey Turner is going to the Philadelphia Phillies on an 11-year deal. It includes a no-trade clause. Aaron Judge is still undecided between San Francisco and the Yankees, but you know what? I am not happy with John Heyman jumping the gun here. And I say that because John Heyman thought that he had breaking news for us, and I thought we would have something to talk about. But, hey, John Heyman jumped the gun, and I didn't like it. And I don't think I trust him when it comes to baseball insiders. I don't really trust John Heyman too often. I trust Jeff Passan more, and also Joel Sherman and J.P. Morosi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, J.P. Morosi is a good one. I trust Jeff Passan a lot more than John Heyman. John Heyman just lost all credibility with that.
I didn't think he had enough credibility.
Yeah, and honestly, you want what this reminded me of? And I think I said this to Ryan before we went on the show, and I'm going to say it to Loro. Remember when Adam Schefter broke the news saying Tom Brady's going to retire, and then he didn't retire, and then a few days later he did retire, and then 40 days later he unretired? Yeah, that's what it really felt like to me. It just felt like you're trying to get the big headline before the big headline even happens. That's why fair. I'm really crazy about that.
That's fair.
Yeah, exactly. So Justin Verlander got the 2-year, $86 million contract. Highest AAV for a pitcher, I think in Major League Baseball history. I could be wrong about that, but Ryan, I know you and your father had a lot to say about this, but what are your thoughts on that?
In terms of what they gave to Verlander, or kind of what they did in regards to Jacob DeGrom, or both.
Either one.
All right. Well, for Justin Verlander, first off, so here's how I stand, right? I'm not a Met fan, right? But I think the Mets actually made, I think, a okay move, right? I think it's probably lateral to maybe above average in terms of like the swap, because it's essentially a Jacob DeGrom for Justin Verlander swap. Obviously not
Right.
the same many years, but essentially, right? Like Jacob DeGrom, one of the best pitchers in baseball. Justin Verlander, who just came off a Cy Young award at 40 years old. Right, but I think it's a lateral move for the Mets. But I think what it's going to come down to, Maddie, is how durable is Justin Verlander's stay?
Mm-hmm.
Because we didn't see him play in 2021, and we didn't see him play in 2020 because of the Tommy John surgery. But
Right.
this year, Maddie, it looked like he got a whole new arm, right? And obviously, we know Tommy John, right? Like it's kind of one of those surgeries, right, where you kind of just like it's not like, if you don't know what it is, it's kind of hard to describe. But it's kind of like they take like a part of like, it's like, I don't know, Maddie. Explain. You know better than me.
So Tommy John is basically when they lay your arm open and they basically fix it, put some screws inside, and then it's like nothing ever happened. Although you're kind of limited because originally when you first get the surgery, you're not the same originally, but then you got to recover through it.
Yeah.
So there's that. Then there's Trey Turner, 11-year contract with the Phillies. We know Bryce Harper was heavily trying to recruit Trey Turner to come to the Phillies.
Well, I feel like we knew that though. I feel like Trey Turner to the Phillies was kind of, I feel like it was written in the stars. Yeah. Like, I mean, you know what's crazy, man? They got both these guys locked up to their 40.
Mm-hmm.
Like Trey Turner's gonna be 40 years old when this contract. Like, oh my god.
And then
because Dave Dombrowski likes going for it. He loves going for big names and wanting to build a winning team with this.
I respect it, Maddie. What is my saying?
You gotta tell me.
You always gotta pack a punch.
You always gotta pack a punch.
That's what they did. They had, what was it? Who was their shortstop last year? Was it? Oh no, it was Didi and Gene Segura at second, right?
Yes.
Right. So I don't know now what they're gonna do. I haven't looked into like their contracts or anything, but remind me, like, tell me if I'm wrong, right? But I think Didi and Gene Segura are still on their team, right?
Yeah, I think so. Didi hasn't really been used much though. Gene Segura was a part of that.
No, I know.
A contributor to the Phillies' run in the playoffs.
I know. And then the other thing is Trey Turner can play outfield. I don't think they'll put him there, but he can. So if they wanted to use Didi, I think they still could. But it's gonna be interesting, dude, because I know Bryce is gonna be out to the All-Star break now.
Yeah,
not really All-Star break, mid-May or something like that for.
Oh, Bryce Harper. Is it May? Okay, I knew it was like kind of like the first 2 months though. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, Bryce is gonna miss a good chunk of time, unfortunately, with Tommy John surgery, and it's a shame because he was phenomenal in the playoffs. And the Phillies are, I think the betting odds. The betting odds are kind of too early to look at, but I think that the Phillies are going to be could be contenders for that NL East division this year. I really think they could. They got the talent. They're bringing a lot of their same guys back. They got Trey Turner. I think that's really going to be a recipe for success.
No, I think so.
All right, so now we're going to get to some. Actually, before we get that, what's the scoop on Aaron Judge? I know he's mentioned that before, but he's going to California to San Diego, correct?
Yes, he is, based on what we speak, and we'll see if there's a decision tomorrow or Thursday.
I think it's gonna be tomorrow, personally.
Well, if John Heyman spoofs us again, I'm going to jump off my couch because this. No, I was angry. A lot of people were angry at John Heyman, and you want to know what he said? He said, "I'm sorry for tweeting this out. I apologize for that, but you can't do that as a reporter. You got to be on. You got to know your stuff. You got to report when it's right. You got to give us good facts. You can't just jump the gun and just give us big news when there's no big news. If anything, you're just losing credibility. And I think John Heyman really he teased a lot of people, and I think that's a shame.
Yeah, it's not really credible though.
No, it's not. It's really not. Okay, so now we're gonna get some NFL for the remaining time that we have. And we're going to start off on a very underrated note. So for those of you who actually don't know, Baker Mayfield was traded by the Browns to the Carolina Panthers.
He's not traded.
No, he
Oh,
was
no.
waived.
He was
The Panthers
released.
waived him, and then he.
Yeah.
He was released. He was begging to get traded. He didn't get what he wanted. He was released by the Browns. Panthers picked him up. Baker said, "This is a new chapter of my career, and I can't wait to see what happens." It went torturous for him. Excuse me. Really, the ultimate thing that I can say is Baker Mayfield did not play well, and he did not rebound. And ultimately, after 4 years, I'm not feeling with Baker Mayfield anymore. I thought he was going to be something good after the 2020 season, but he went backwards. He's gone absolutely backwards. And now he requested to be traded again or released by the Panthers this past week, and the Panthers waived him. And who picked him up? The Los Angeles Rams. So now Baker Mayfield is on his second team this season, and he's probably going to end up being the starter for the Rams because John Wolford and Bryce Perkins are just not going to help you win games. And the Rams are just banged up all across the board. They play on Thursday Night Football against the Raiders. I think they're at home against the Vegas Raiders, if I'm correct.
Yes, they are at SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, it's SoFi Stadium. So it's going to be interesting. It's not that interesting. The Rams are just banged up and bruised. They're not going to really do much this year. The Raiders, on the other hand, have won 3 straight games. But I got to ask this question to Ryan because we've talked about Baker Mayfield. I had some really high expectations on him after 2020. Is he a bust? Can we call him a bust?
Yeah, but I think it's an unfortunate bust, right? Like I think like when you define the word bust, right, it's kind of like the bottom fell out, right? And I don't think the bottom fell out with Baker Mayfield, right? But I guess when we use the word bust, right, we kind of have to like look at many things, right? Where he was drafted, what team he went to, what situation, like all that stuff, right? And the fact of the matter is Baker Mayfield was a former number 1 overall pick, right? And he just didn't do what he was required to do. I mean, like if you look at busts, right? Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, right? Those are like I consider busts, right? But like I think Baker Mayfield definitely wasn't a hit, but I don't think he was a complete like whiff. If you know, like if you understand, kind of like I think he's like about average, but like for a number 1 overall pick, he can't be average.
Yeah, and the problem with Baker Mayfield, he came to a Browns team that had 1 win in a 2-year span.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to make them better. And he did take the Browns to the playoffs, and they did win a playoff game against the Steelers when they were banged up with COVID. But the problem with Baker Mayfield is that he had a great 2020 season, but he just couldn't be consistent and sustain the momentum that he had. 2021, the bottom fell out. And then he went to Carolina. He was expected to be good, and things just didn't work out. Now he's with the Rams. He's probably going to finish the season there, and then who knows what's going to happen from there. Loro, I'm going to ask you the same question. Is Baker Mayfield a bust?
Yes, he is. I mean, like he's just all hype, and he just and his career is now washed up to this point.
Is there any recovery? Do you guys think? Do you think Baker Mayfield can recover in any way, shape, or form?
No. I think Maddie, once it comes down to like when you just gone from team to team to team, it's never a good thing.
Loro, any recovery?
Probably not. No.
I honestly don't think there's going to be any recovery either. I think that Baker Mayfield, it's unfortunate because I thought he could really excel and really change the culture of a Browns franchise that really needed to change. But it's unfortunate because I saw potential. I remember at one point I thought Baker Mayfield was going to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback. But now he's just he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it. And unfortunately, I've got no patience for him.
I remember that blasphemy, Maddie. I do actually remember that.
I said it was before the 2021 season. I said Baker Mayfield could be a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and unfortunately, that never panned out.
I do, Maddie. This is why it's fun to have all the documentation.
Absolutely. So next up, we're going to get into some more quarterback news, and this is just heartbreaking. Jimmy Garoppolo, in a game against the Miami Dolphins, broke his foot, and he's done for the season. Now we turn to Brock Purdy in San Francisco. The 49ers offense is still good, and their defense is one of the best in all of football. But, Ryan, I've talked about Jimmy G with you a lot, and I know we've on the Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo debate, who should be the starter, who's going to take the 49ers to the promised land. Ultimately, it ends up both of them end up getting hurt and can't play for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? And what's going to happen with Jimmy G in the future? What do you think is going to happen?
I think Jimmy's going to be back. And actually, Matty, there's reports today that they said it's not a Liz Frank injury, so he is not going to require surgery. So they said he can actually theoretically be back like for the playoffs, but they would have to go far, right? And I think it's 7 to 8 weeks. They said
Okay.
if he would make a return. But then the question comes to then like, is it worth it for the 49ers then to insert Jimmy Garoppolo back into their lineup, right? When they're probably in at this point the divisional or the conference or the conference championship game, right? Like, is that a thing you want to do? And I personally, I don't know how it would be, right? I don't think the Niners make it that far with Brock Purdy, unfortunately, but I guess we'll have to see.
Jimmy G is such a great player. Do you think there's a chance he would transfer or rather get traded, rather? I mean, listen, I'm going to say this right now. I think that Jimmy Garoppolo has talent. I know we talk about this all. I know people say that he's not really a top-tier quarterback in the NFL, but you know what? You can win with the guy. And therefore, I just think that he deserves better. I mean, look at he won in New England. He won in San Francisco, albeit, sputtered. But this is basketball way. What's your thoughts on Russell Westbrook?
Garbage.
What's your thoughts on Russell Westbrook? We'll get into that really, really quick. Russell Westbrook is getting better this year. The Lakers are actually playing better than they're supposed to. But I ultimately think that Russell Westbrook is not really at the point of his career where he can score triple doubles anymore. But back to Jimmy G for a second. He deserves another chance. I thought originally he was going to end up with Seattle, but obviously Geno Smith made sure that's not going to happen anytime soon. But like you look at the Patriots, I don't know what you do with Jimmy G at this point. You look at the Niners, I don't know what you do with Jimmy G at this point, unfortunately, because they drafted Trey Lance. They gave up 2 firsts to get Trey Lance, and now all of a sudden it's like, well, what do you do with this guy? I mean, Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant in this past year's draft, so you're not going to really do it. So you're not going to really put him in your plans, but you're going to have to roll with him the rest of the season because your 2 top quarterbacks are hurt. But the problem with Jimmy G is that he's not really a guy that you can rally behind and say he's going to be a top-tier quarterback. But the Niners win with him. That's the problem. And Trey Lance, the short spurt that we've seen him on the field, he hasn't really looked great. So now you're in a compromising position. Do you get rid of Jimmy G? Do you keep him? Do you keep rolling the dice with Trey Lance? What do you do? Like, there's just a lot going on. Lauro, if you're the 49ers and you see all this chaos going on, what do you do?
I think you got to give Trey Lance a chance. I mean, look, the Niners have been in quarterback chaos, but, I think that you got to give the kid a chance.
But what would you do with Jimmy G? I mean, he had a really good outing in relief for Trey Lance, but now he's hurt and he can't play for the rest of the season, and he's likely gone. What do you do?
I don't really know, to be honest.
It's tough. It really is tough. The NFL is a cruel business. This is probably something that Laura's probably is gonna shatter me for this. Maybe, just maybe, Bill Belichick would probably pick up the phone and call the Niners and Kyle Shanahan and say, "Hey, you know that quarterback that we traded away? Yeah, we would like him back." Because
I think so, but I think what I think that comes down to, Matt, is you're forgetting that Jimmy G's a free agent like this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to remember that basically, unless the Niners tag him, which they won't, right? He could go anywhere he wants. So I don't think it's gonna come down to that. But I think when it comes down to the situation, dude, I really think it just comes down to worry about it in the offseason, right? Because the Niners are at a point right now where they're winning their division, they're fighting for the playoffs. So right at this point, just keep doing what you're doing and worry about all that stuff in the offseason.
That's a good point. I mean, there's still a lot of time left in the NFL season. I mean, if Jimmy G comes back and the Niners make a deep playoff run like they did last year, and Jimmy G comes and performs and takes the Niners to the Super Bowl, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'd probably have this conversation again because it's just an important conversation. Because, porn star Jimmy, which is what Stephen A. calls him, Stephen A. Smith calls him porn star Jimmy. He's very, very – he wins a lot of games. He's not going to impress you with his stats, but he's going to win you a bunch of games. And the thing that really irks me about Jimmy G is that he could have been a Patriot for a long time, but obviously Tom Brady got in the way. Robert Kraft got in the way. He traded Jimmy G away, and now here we are. We've seen what Jimmy G could do, but now it's what do you do with him?
Yeah, no, I know.
So Laurel, I'm gonna go to you on a past question. Like this obviously involves your Patriots. Now that you've seen what Jimmy G could do as both a Patriot and a 49er, are you convinced that he could be a starter in the NFL somewhere else?
Yeah, I could see it, but I'm not sure where though.
That's kind of the problem. Like we don't know where he's gonna end up because like you look at the bottom teams in the NFL. Okay, maybe all right. The Panthers maybe. The Texans probably because the Texans just need help so bad. Um, the Broncos, you have to ride or die with Russell Wilson, unfortunately. The Rams, you're not going to really do much with the Rams. You know, Matthew Stafford's there for the next few years, you'd probably say. The Buccaneers, maybe, because Tom Brady's not going to last too long. And I really don't think they see much with Kyle Trask.
I
know
don't.
I mean,
I actually don't believe that's the case, Maddie. We haven't seen them, so I think they would. I think they would at least try him. Like I think they would bring in like Jimmy, but I don't think they just hand him the starting job. But continue.
Kyle Trask only hasn't had any starting time with the Buccaneers, and Tom Brady's going to retire after the season, most likely. So now it's kind of like, what do we do here? This is just a problem. Like, Jimmy G is going to be a problem because he's a great quarterback that could win you football games when given the chance in certain circumstances. But unfortunately, it's just not the case anymore. And I don't know what's going to happen after this season. It's going to be very, very unfortunate to see what happens with Jimmy G. He's probably going to get let go after the 2022 season. And what happens from there, what happens from there. But we have a lot of time, like Ryan said. But now we're going to get into some more quarterback news. Lamar Jackson hurt himself against the Denver Broncos and on Sunday. He's going to be week to week. Tyler Huntley is most likely going to be the starter for the Baltimore Ravens against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big rivalry matchup. Pittsburgh Steelers are actually pretty good now. They've won, I think, 3 of their last 4 games. They've looked pretty good. But the question I have for Ryan, I'm going to start with you. Are the Ravens in peril right now? Because their star quarterback is injury prone. Tyler Huntley did not look good against the Denver Broncos. They barely squeaked it out against the Broncos. And now you got to rely on him. And what does this say about Lamar Jackson getting hurt again?
I think I'll talk about the last thing you just said about what does this mean for Lamar getting hurt. It just means that the running style of football, like we've all said, Matt, is exciting, but it's risky because like we've talked about all the time, right? You can be doesn't matter how good you are on the ground. Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, all of them. One hit, you're done. And like we're seeing that now with Lamar, like there's a fine line, right? Like we always talk about it, right? Like there's running quarterbacks and quarterbacks who can run. And I think Lamar has definitely showed people that he can do it with his arm, but his primary thing is to run. Mm-hmm. And if you're Lamar and if you're the Ravens, I mean, if you're the Ravens or not, Matt, you look like geniuses and you'd be like, look, this is why we're not paying the guy because he just never stays healthy. And I'm not saying that's his fault. I'm just saying it's football and injuries are going to happen, but it's definitely not a good look on Lamar, especially because if Lamar wants that $50 million bag a year, I don't know what team's giving him that right now, Matty, the way he's been health-wise.
Yeah, health is kind of a concern with Lamar. And I have him on my fantasy team, for those of you who are wondering why I'm complaining about this and why I decided to make this a topic. Lamar Jackson is a very exciting player. He's a former league MVP, very, very consistent whenever he's healthy. There are times where he hasn't been fantastic, but at one point we thought this guy was going to be a runaway MVP early in the season. But now he's been kind of iffy. And now, remember, he's looking for that extension. He wants to stay in Baltimore, and he wants to get paid because all the other quarterbacks around him are getting their money's worth, and he hasn't. I think durability is going to come down. Is going to be a detriment for him because if he can't stay healthy, then the Ravens are going to look at this and they're going to say, okay, can we really afford to pay this guy the big bucks if he's not going to be able to be 100% come game day every single week? Yeah. That could be a problem. But Laurel, do you think Lamar Jackson's lack of availability when healthy or when injured could be a detriment for him in terms of getting that extension?
Well, if you look at it, I really think that the injury might hurt how much he will get paid, but we'll see how the rest of the season goes.
Like I said, there's still a bunch of answers and a bunch of questions left to really determine how we're going to fare across the season. And like I said, we're week 13. We have 5 weeks left counting the playoffs. So if the Ravens make the playoffs and Lamar Jackson ends up getting hurt or doesn't perform well in the playoff game, then there will be some serious questions. But this is what makes the NFL so fun. there's still time left, and the playoffs are really going to determine who's for real and who's not, and who is kind of in the bubble. And we're still trying to see what we're going to get at a certain person. But I digress. So now we're going to get into our Sunday standouts, which is our team that really stood out this week in Week 13 in the NFL, and we're going to have to explain why, and then we'll get into our picks based on the spread, and that will be the show. So for those of you who have tuned in this long, thank you. You're a trooper. We greatly appreciate you. But Ryan, who was your Sunday standout this week in the NFL?
You see, Maddie, that's an interesting thing for me, right, Maddie? Because I think it's a little bit of a cop-out answer, Maddie, but I think it's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think the reason it's the Philadelphia Eagles, Maddie, is they've shown now that even though like they've lost the game, though, they're 11-1 still, first in the NFC. They have the number 1 seed. But I think that what it shows, Maddie, is they're playing a Tennessee Titans team that was going into the game 7-4 and looked pretty good. I mean, and they just flat out dominated them, like from start to finish. It was domination. And I think the reason that they're my standout is because they've kind of just shown, right, Maddie, that they are the team in the NFC, right? Like the AFC, we still don't know. Is it the Chiefs? Is it the Bills? Is it the Dolphins? Like, what team is it? I think in the NFC, I think we can all clearly say right now it is the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's not close.
All right, Laura, who's your Sunday standout and why?
I'm going to go Brock Purdy. I think, with Garoppolo out, Brock Purdy found a way to step up, and he found a way to beat a really good Miami Dolphins team.
All right. My Sunday standout is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. And you want to know why? Because Joe Burrow has Patrick Mahomes' number, amazingly. And this was also the first time in 3 years that the Chiefs lost a game in November or December. They were on a 26-27 game winning streak in the month of between the months of November and December, and they flat out won convincingly in Cincinnati against a really good Chiefs team that could potentially be the 2 seed or possibly the 1 seed in the AFC playoffs. And the Bengals just look phenomenal.
Yeah, no, they look good, dude. Jamar Chase is back and better than ever.
All right, so now we're going to end the show the way we always have with our picks based on the spread. Now, if you're wondering how this works, for those of you who are looking to make some money from me, Laura, or Ryan, we're going to give you picks based on the spread and whether a team's going to cover based on a certain spread that they have. So, for instance,
hasn't been too good for your boy recently, Maddie. Hasn't been
too good at all for either of us.
Nah, last night I also lost like $30. I was kind of pissed.
Oh, is that why Lucas Vital said this?
Yeah, a little bit. We kind of placed like 2 bets yesterday. We did like Bucks -7.5, and then we did what's his name? Rashad White, 35 rushing yards and the Bucks to win the game by the money line. And Rashad White got 28 yards rushing. And we had it as the game winning we had it as
Brian made me lose money.
Touchdown. Sorry, bro. We had it as anytime touchdown. So yeah, unfortunate, but again, only spend when you can afford to lose is the word of advice I'll give.
Well, don't worry, Lucas and others. We're going to make you some money this week, or at least we're going to try to. All right, what's the first game?
So it's Thursday night, Maddie. It's the Vegas Raiders and the LA Rams. It's the Raiders -5.5.
The Raiders are -5.5. We're probably going to see Baker Mayfield start for the Los Angeles Rams this Thursday. The Raiders are on a 3-game win streak. Josh Jacobs looks incredible, although he's kind of banged up.
My guy, Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs looks really, really good, though. The Raiders have stepped up, though. You know what? If Baker Mayfield has a statement game, Siriani, help me make some money. We're going to try. We're absolutely going to try. I'm going to say the Raiders cover -5.5. I just think that it's going to be a touchdown game, a 1 touchdown game. So a 6.7 point game. Raiders win. I'm trying to make money moves. There we go. All right, I'm going to say the Raiders. Brian, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders.
-5.5?
Yeah.
All right, Laura, what about you?
I'm going to go with the Raiders as well. My boy Josh McDaniels is doing a great job. He's holding this team together. And, everybody thought he was going to be fired. But you know what? Hey, Josh McDaniels has proven himself.
All right, what's next?
Next, Maddie, the Jets and the Bills. The Bills -9.5.
The last time the Jets played the Buffalo Bills, they were double-digit underdogs, but they came out and flat out won the game. But the Jets are really in for a tough one because the Buffalo Bills are hot once again. They're not on a skid. Josh Allen seems to have recovered from his elbow injury, and it looks like the Bills are going to be fine. 9.5 points, though, is a lot of points for a Jets team that's 7-5. And Mike White is at the controls. Mike White had a pretty okay game against the Minnesota Vikings, although he did have a really good game against the Bears, but the Bears, for God's sake. Honestly, tough one. I'm probably going to say the Bills dominate this game. I think they cover the spread easily, -9.5.
You disgust me, Maddie.
I'm sorry. That's what I think.
It's Mike effing White season, bro. That's all I can tell you. And I'm not going to lie to you. The Jets should have won last week. The Jets kicked 5 field goals. I mean, good Lord. I mean, you can't get in the end zone twice. But besides the point, Maddie, I'm actually going to Jets my +9.5 because their defense has not played good in 2 weeks. And it's going to be time. They're going to catch fire again, bro. Watch Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis get absolutely lost in the sauce.
Oh, boy. And first of all, I want to give a shout out our weekly Maryland Terps mention. The Terps are playing Duke in the Mayo Bowl. Go Maryland. Yep, Maryland looks pretty good in college football. They actually blew out Rutgers in the season finale. All right, Lauro, if you had to pick Jets, Bills -9.5, where would you go?
Going Buffalo. I think that they get revenge this time on the Jets.
Okay. All right, what's next?
Next, Maddie, Browns and Bengals. Bengals -5.5.
Browns and Bengals. Deshaun Watson looked god-awful against his former team. And the only reason why the Texans actually lost this game was because they allowed 3 defensive touchdowns against the Browns. And by the way, 31 points in fantasy. Thank you, Browns defense, and thank you, Houston Texans. You're terrible. So, thoughts on Sauce? Defensive Rookie of the Year. Defensive Rookie of the Year.
All you Tariq Woolen people, get the hell out of here.
But anyway, -5.5 for a Bengals offense that's clicking on all cylinders. Browns defense that will never have a week like that ever again. And Deshaun Watson looked, like I said, he did not look good at all. He still looks like he's very, very bad against opposing defenses. And he looked bad in preseason too. Like, this is a guy who still looks like he hasn't played in 700 days. So I'm going to go with the Bengals -5.5 here. Ryan, what do you think?
I'm actually going to go with the Browns, Maddie. And I think it's kind of based off what you said. I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to play like that again. And I just think now, Maddie, I think with the Bengals coming off a big win against the Chiefs, we see this happen with a lot of teams, Maddie, is the next game they come out kind of flat. And I think we might see that with the Cincinnati Bengals. And don't forget, Maddie, Myles Garrett is an absolute force. Mm-hmm. And their offensive line is still not good. So, I mean, we'll see. They're probably going to have Joe Mixon back next week, but it's gonna be a long day, Maddie. It's gonna be a gruesome game. Divisional games are always tough.
The only thing I am going to say about this, I don't think Joe Burrow has yet to win a game against the Cleveland Browns.
I don't remember if that's true.
I think he's yet to win a game against the Cleveland Browns, which is kind of embarrassing because he's undefeated against the Chiefs.
I'll take your word for it.
All right, Laura, what do you think? Browns, Bengals -5.5.
Going with the Cincinnati Bengals in this game.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. What's next?
Next, we got the Houston Texans and the Dallas Cowboys. And my God, Maddie, is the Cowboys -16.5.
16?
They're going to win by 17. Good Lord.
16.5?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Listen, that just tells you how bad the Texans are. So it's a battle of Texas, by the way. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys looked great against the Fighting Jeff Saturdays in the fourth quarter. Oh, my God. This is going to be a slaughter. Is it in Jerry's World?
It is.
It's going to be a slaughter. It's going to be a slaughter. Absolute slaughter. Even Cowboys -16.5.
Yeah. I'm going to – that's gross, but I'm going to go with it too.
Laura, what do you think?
I'm going to go with the Cowboys by a lot here.
All right,
yeah, a lot of points. Vikings, Lions. But Lions -2.5.
Now, if the Vikings win this game, they clinch the NFC North division. That's one thing that I wanted to mention before we get into our picks here. Mm-hmm. The Lions have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. However, they looked really good against the Jacksonville Jaguars this past week. Mm-hmm. The Vikings, you can't stop Justin Jefferson. You can't. You just simply can't. He's just been a force on offense. I think this line secondary is going to have a hard time covering him. And also look for other playmakers to step up for the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Vikings win this one. They're favored by 2.5, correct?
The Lions are -2.5, so the Vikings get 2.5.
Oh, they get 2.5.
Yeah.
So it's in Detroit.
Yeah.
I'll take the points plus Minnesota plus 2.5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
What do you think?
I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions. I think that the Fighting Dan Campbells are going to go out there, beat the Vikings. And you know what? The Lions are fighting for their playoff lives. And I think they are playing good football right now.
They're
No,
still alive in the playoff hunt, but barely. They're up by the skin of their teeth. What's next?
It's only the Fighting Jeff Saturdays. But besides the point, Jaguars, Titans. Titans minus 3.5.
Trevor Lawrence is banged up and might not play this game, but the likelihood is he'll probably play. The Titans fired their general manager, by the way, earlier today.
I saw that.
They fired the general manager, so I'm assuming it has to do with what happened with A.J. Brown. So this is a tough one. I think he's going to take a good dose of Derrick Henry for the Titans to win this game. The Jaguars had a very, very off day against the Lions, which is rare for them. This is going to be a close one. What's the spread again?
3.5. Titans minus 3.5.
Titans minus 3.5.
Yes.
Wow. You know what? I'm going to take the Jaguars plus 3.5 here.
Interesting. I'm not. I'm going to take the Titans minus 3.5.
All right. Laura, what do you think?
I am going to go with whatchamacallit?
The Titans.
Titans.
I'm gonna go with Tennessee. I mean, Jacksonville, I think is good, but I just think that they have a lot of work to do.
All right, what's next?
Next, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, Maddie, and your New York Giants. And it's the Eagles minus 6.5.
First off, ties should be eliminated from football. Ties should be eliminated from football. That's why that's the first thing I'm going to say. Second thing I'm going to say, this game's not going to be close. Give me the Eagles.
Wow. Wow. All right. Yeah, I'm going to take the Eagles too, Maddie. Sorry, but, Jalen is that boy. So
He's your boy in fantasy too. What's the spread again?
minus 6.5 to the Eagles.
Minus 6.5. All right, Lauro. Giants and Eagles. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with the New York. I'm gonna go with the New York football. No, sorry. Let me start over. Sorry, I lost the train of thought here.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia Eagles.
This boy's about to say New York Football Giants. Huh?
I've been crazy. What's next?
I'll wait till next week.
Okay, thank you. What's next?
Next, Maddie, Ravens, Steelers. It is the Steelers, minus 2.5.
And the reason why it's that is because Tyler Huntley might be starting a quarterback, and he did not look good against a somewhat good Bronco defense. But the Ravens, unless Tyler Huntley can play the way he did in relief for Lamar Jackson last year, I think this Pittsburgh Steelers team is going to win. I'm gonna say Pittsburgh minus 2.5 here. I think they're going to be good. Is it Heinz Field?
It's not Heinz Field anymore, but yes.
All right, I'm still going to take that. That Steelers crowd is going to be loud.
Yes.
All right, what's next? Actually, Ryan, what's your pick?
I got Steelers too.
All right, Laura, what do you think? Ravens, Steelers.
I'm gonna go Steelers if Lamar Jackson doesn't play.
All right, what's next?
Next, Maddie, Chiefs, Broncos. Chiefs minus 8.5.
I'm not going to sing Who Cares. Just give me the Chiefs.
It's in Mile High too, if that makes any difference, but I don't think it does.
It's not. It doesn't.
It's not gonna make any difference at all.
I got the Chiefs as well.
All right, so we all got the Chiefs. What's next?
Tampa Bay
I got
Bucks,
the Chiefs,
49ers.
Chiefs, 49.
And it's the Niners minus 3.5.
Bucks, 49ers. What a magical moment for Tom Brady on Monday Night Football. Brock Purdy.
The Bucks look bad. They look bad.
They did not look great against the New Orleans Saints, but they pulled it out. What's the spread again?
Niners minus 3.5.
Niners minus 2.5. That Niners defense is really, really good. I think this Buccaneer offense might struggle against that pass rush that San Fran has. I think a 45-year-old Tom Brady is not going to look great against the Niners pass rush that's this dominant. But I'm curious to see how Brock Purdy does. I'm going to go with the Niners minus 2.5. Ryan, what do you think?
I agree. I'm going to go with the Niners minus 2.5.
All right, Laura, what do you think?
I'm gonna go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
All right, what's next?
Next, we have the Carolina Panthers and the Seattle Seahawks. And it's the Seattle Seahawks minus 3.5.
Wow. The Seahawks with Kenneth Walker look really good. Without Kenneth Walker,
Still pretty good.
They're still pretty good.
I'm
going to go with the Seahawks on this one. The Panthers are just a mess.
Yeah.
Brian, what do you think?
Please Ken Walker play. But yes, I need that guy bad. But I'm going Seattle minus 3.5. Please.
All right,
Ken Walker.
Loro. Seahawks minus 3.5 against the Panthers. What do you think?
I'm going to go the Seahawks. I think there's no way that the Carolina Panthers have a chance in this game.
All right, what's next?
LA Charger. Well, Miami Dolphins at LA Chargers. And it's the Miami Dolphins minus 3.5.
Laura and I are calling this game on Twitter Spaces. This should be an interesting one. It's the battle of the 5th and 6th overall picks in the 2020 draft. Obviously, the Dolphins wanted Justin Herbert, or Brian Flores wanted Justin Herbert in 2020. But, unfortunately, things did not go as planned. Brian Flores got fired, but Mike McDaniel, who's a football nerd, is putting this Dolphins offense really good together, but they struggled against the San Francisco 49ers. What's the spread again?
Not Dolphins minus 3.5.
Dolphins minus 3.5. I think I'm going to take that. The Chargers have been struggling recently, so I'm going to take that. Dolphins minus 3.5. I'll take it. What do you think, Brian?
I agree.
Lower, what do you think?
I'm going to go the Dolphins over the Chargers.
All right, and last but certainly not least,
The battle of the deserts. The New England Patriots at the Arizona Cardinals. Patriots minus 1.5.
Patriots minus 1.5. The Arizona Cardinals play really, really bad when they're at home. That's one thing that people got to realize. They are bad when they're at home. And I'm going to think that trend continues. I think even though this Patriots offense is looking to find their mojo, I think they're going to do that against this Cardinals defense and get back on track. Because like I said, everyone beats the Cardinals when they're at home. I'm going to go with the Patriots minus 1.5. What do you think?
We're doing this game, too, on Monday Night Football. I'm going to go with the New England Patriots to win this game.
That's correct. We're doing this game on Monday Night Football Twitter Spaces.
And
Brian,
Sunday Night Football, we're doing the Dolphins as well.
That's right. What's next? What do you think, Brian?
All right, I see how it is. Going with the Patriots, but I mean, I want the Cardinals to win, but I got to go with the Patriots.
All right, so that is all the time we have for Siriani Says Sports. But before we go, please follow us on our social medias. That's Facebook at Siriani Says Sports, YouTube at Siriani Says Sports, Twitter at Siri Says Sports, Instagram at Siriani Says Sports, and Colorcast is unfortunately going to be defunct, and it's going to turn to a sports betting website called Outlier. So if you're going to look to follow us on there, it's not going to be for too long. But for Ryan Beard Jr., Lauro, Antonio, I'm Matt Siriani. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching today's episode. We had quite a couple of people watching tonight, so this was very, very surprising. For those of you who tuned in, thank you very much.
People to watch it. That way we can get this show to be a success.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good sign. But take care, everyone. Have a great night. Stay safe, and of course, peace out.
Good night, everyone.